Hello and welcome back to Jack's Hobby Station. Today I'll be post shading, playing with oils, and playing around with some weathering. First I started by painting the interior with Tamiya's XF2 white. Next I moved on to the exterior and added a base coat of XF62 olive drab. But I forgot about gluing the two holes together, so I did that and filled up the gaps with Tamiya's white putty and green stuff. The reason why I added green stuff is because I was going to attempt to add well beats, but I couldn't find the proper tools to make the effect. And after that mess, I cleaned up the front hole using olive drab. Then I painted the tracks using XF1 flat black. And real quick, I just wanted to show how the paint really looked versus what was being recorded. Next, I painted the headlights and other silver areas with XF16 flat aluminum. After that, I painted the gun cover and some pieces of cargo with XF13 JA green. Next I moved onto the front hole using some olive drab mixed with some buff to add highlights. Next I painted the rear lights using XF7 flat red. Next up, cargo. Cargo is a bit of a pain to paint, having to choose from what greens you want to use and what you want to use to paint the straps with. I wish I had more green so I could add post shading, but it is what it is. So I used JA green, XF13, olive green, XF58, deep green, XF26, and olive drab, XF62. Next I painted the 50 cal and the scraped area of the return roller using X10 gunmetal and a pencil. Next, I painted the brass using X12 gold leaf, then I painted the belt piece using FX1 flat black, then I used gunmetal for the bullets. Next, I moved back onto the cargo and painted the wood pieces using Tamiya's XF10 flat brown. I accidentally missed a drop of water on my brush and I got some thin paint on the turret, so I tried covering it with Vallejo's US olive green. Next, I painted the straps and tie downs using XF57 buff for some reason, and after it dried, it just looked ugly. Next, I added a varnish from Vallejo, and I know the turret, it looks like an absolute mess, but I'll fix it later on. I decided to fix the straps and tie downs using XF60 dark yellow, and I painted the ammo sling the same color. Next, I decided to try something new, post shading. I used deep green as I was only testing with it. I know I shouldn't play with new things on visible areas of the model, but it turned out pretty well. Next time I'll add actual post shading. Next, I varnish and add the decals. Make sure not to make the same mistake I did and add a matte varnish. This will cause fogging of the decals, and instead use gloss varnish, which supports the decals. After adding all the decals, I painted the metal piece of the tools using basalt gray from Vallejo, and after drying it became a bluish gray, so I decided to fix it using gunmetal, and it turned out great. Next, I painted the inside of the exhaust and the rubber on the road wheels using XF1 black. After painting the road wheels, I painted the gun shells using gold leaf, and I painted the tool straps using XF10 flat brown. After painting, I put it with oils on the bottom side of the tank, trying different types of colors, and after thinning, it turned out great. I tried some more so I could get a rain through dust effect, but I couldn't really find a good way to make it. Next, I added a chipping effect using the same paint mixture that I used for the highlights, but it didn't turn out that well. Next, I added scratches. I went a bit overkill with it, and the scratches along the front didn't really look that well. Next, I started adding oils, first by adding white oils using a toothpick and thinned using a brush dampened with thinner. And the resulting effect turned out to be exactly what I needed. Next I used some AK dry mud splatter effects and added it to areas of the lower hull. But before I painted it, I added PVA glue and added some static grass. I also added some splatter effects onto the tracks and wiped away the excess. Next I added some dust effects using XF57 buff through my airbrush, and I experimented using it as dry mud. But unfortunately I got a little bit carried away and applied it too much on the front hull. And the last thing I did with my airbrush was adding exhaust effects using XF1 flat black. Next I added wet mud using XF10 flat brown, and I experimented with the wheels using thin flat brown, and I think it turned out pretty well. I decided I wanted more wet mud effects, so I used a mixture of dust pigments, thin flat brown paint, and lacquer thinner, and applied it to the tracks, hull, and wheels. Next I add more mud effects by adding splash mud effects, but while doing this I accidentally tapped that area by the engine deck with my brush. And last but not least, I wanted to recreate the wet area under the water pump, so I added some gloss and regular PVA glue, but neither glossed over. And that's the end of today's video. I have a mixed reaction to this build. I think the weathering was good if not spot on. I did make some errors here and there along the way, but hopefully the worst of them you can't see. The painting and oil effects was okay, but I could have certainly done better. Also the cargo. After taking a good look at it, I realized how ugly it was and how untextured the roll it's made of aluminum foil was. Hopefully I'll do better on my M26 build. Thanks for watching and have a great day. See ya.